Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of PharmaLinea's podcast. My name is Mateusz Ambrozic, and I'm the marketing director at PharmaLinea. And I'm very happy to be joined here today by none other than Veronika Pipan, who is our head of scientific support.
Hello, everybody.
So we are all just freshly back from Vitafoods in Barcelona, and I think I can speak for everybody that attended the show or exhibited that the move to Barcelona was fantastic, excellent on all accounts. The only possible downside that I can think of is that the show is, of course, naturally growing, and in Barcelona we already had 3 halls. And as a consequence, being a visitor, trying to cover it all was a little bit more difficult than in previous years in Geneva. But that's what happens with the growth of the industry, of course. And, even before, in previous years, people already had the biggest kind of issue of visiting a trade show like Vitafoods is, can I cover it all? Can I go to all stands, see all the innovation? There's always a little bit of FOMO, of fear of missing out. Could I have missed a really crucial stand at the show? And to counter this at least a little bit, we are holding this podcast where we will be basically doing a review of what we thought were the highlights of Vitafoods Europe in Barcelona. What were the ingredients or finished products or trends to look out for and to take note of for future reference. And I cannot by any means claim that in this podcast we'll be able to cover it all, but we'll go through what we feel are the main topics, the most important topics, and name some examples of ingredients, some examples of suppliers and finished products that we thought that stood out a little bit. So the topics that we will be covering today, myself and Veronika, are longevity,
Beauty from within,
a GLP-1,
women's health,
hydration,
magnesium,
sleep,
galenic forms,
geographic shifts.
and at the end, some honorable mentions.
So that's what is in store for today. If that tickles your fancy, continue to stay with us and have a listen on these topics. So we will be starting off with longevity. By this, I mean, healthy aging is a huge, broad term, can entail anything from, cognitive decline to healthy joints and so forth. But right now, we'll be focusing on longevity more in the sense of cellular health, which I think is a more recent trend, characterized by the growth of ingredients such as NAD, NMN, resveratrol, and so forth. First, a little bit about the introduction on the trend. We've been really seeing this trend this product segment go from a niche category specific to some D2C brands with some tests included, but very niche, to the mainstream. And by mainstream, I mean also mainstream media. Projects like, Project Blueprint by Brian Johnson, or Andrew Huberman's podcasts, or even Netflix series like Blue Zone, or Blue Zones, is it? These are really driving the conversation to all kinds of consumers and indirectly driving the growth of the category. And this has not only translated to conversation about the topic itself and the underlying biology, but also to searches for supplements supporting this health segment. We've seen a really big spike in growth of searches for NAD supplement and for NMN supplement. So consumers are really starting to recognize these ingredients specifically and look for supplements that contain them. We've seen huge launches by, as I mentioned, not specific niche D2C brands, but mainstream brands like Bayer's One a Day Age Factor product, or Country Life launching 3 products for cellular health, Swiss's NAD product. Even David Beckham's IM8 is pretty focused on longevity in the cellular sense. So really many interesting products happening in recent years, and also sales growth. We know specifically from the US with SPINS data that there's been a significant growth in sales of products based on NADH, on resveratrol, on glutathione. All of these have growth recorded in 2024 in figures above 20%. So that's pretty significant. At Vitafoods Europe, actually, NBJ held a presentation that showed that healthy aging is expected to be the second highest growing segment in supplements in the US in 2025. And it's not only US based, there's also indications of growth in other markets. So we know that H&H's group brand Swiss, their product NAD Plus Restore, according to H&H Group, their reports, this was one of the two key products that was driving growth beside liver health in 2024. So that's kind of the market background, the trend background. And moving on now to Vitafoods and what we saw there, I will comment perhaps more from the perspective of what happened at our stand, because it's worth explaining that our rows at Vitafoods are a little bit different. Whereas I am mostly at the stand, although I would like to go around more. I'm mostly held up at the stand with meetings with clients or prospective clients or just random passersby. And I get more information from these conversations with brand owners, and I'll be commenting more on that. On the other hand, Veronica is going around, and also other people within our team are going around the show and scouting for innovation and making notes. So we'll be kind of bouncing back and forth with these two different types of insights. And I'll start off with, for longevity, with kind of a comment on what we saw on the stand with interest from brand owners. So I specifically had somewhere between 50 and 100, probably closer to 100 conversations with brand owners. So the sample size is somewhat significant. It's not in the thousands as I would like it to be, but still, there is a couple of conversations that I had. And I actually expected perhaps a little bit more interest, a little bit more proactive interest from brand owners on this topic. We actually prepared ahead of the event together with our sales team on what we can discuss about longevity, the products, the development projects that we have in store and so forth. And in the end, we didn't have to use this so much because we had few conversations on the topic. Specifically, as perhaps could be expected, these were conversations with brand owners from more developed markets. Markets like the US, markets like China, Western European markets like the UK and France. I had specifically had conversations with brand owners from these countries asking about products for longevity. But it seems that as soon as we move on to less developed markets or more price-sensitive markets where, these kind of products are not essential, they're more nice to have, you would need consumers with a higher disposable income to start spending on products that might, result in longevity, increased longevity in, 20, 30 years. It seems that the interest was a little bit lower and there was more skepticism. I spoke to quite a few brand owners from Spain, from the Middle East, from Central and Eastern Europe, and so forth, that were skeptical about this market and about their consumers being kind of mature enough or having enough disposable income to spend on these. But moving on to you, Veronica, what did you see in terms of ingredient suppliers in these areas? I know you mentioned to me one specific stand that I also noticed inevitably because they were kind of our neighbors. This was Farm, right?
Yes. Yes. So first, walking the floor of this huge Vitafoods this year, it was a really great experience. But what I really found interesting, there is a lot of these longevity ingredients, NAD plus, M&M, also others like resveratrol and so on. But I didn't see much of the ingredients that are actually authorized novel food in Europe. For example, the nicotinamide riboside, which has been approved, for example, compared to the NMN, which is not yet approved in Europe. So there were a lot of this kind of ingredients for longevity, but I would still expect maybe more of it. But as you mentioned, the FFarm, I think they stood out because they really have a lot of ingredients, NAD plus NMN. They're also doing studies on it, on the ingredients. One of them was already published. One is still ongoing, or it will be published soon. I believe that they mention they claim 9 times higher bioavailability of their NAD plus compared to others. So That's a huge thing. And
Is that based on
yeah.
a specific delivery method or 9 times higher because of?
I believe, yeah, they have some liposomal form of the ingredient. So probably this is the main reason. I believe that a lot of manufacturers go in this improvement direction, so improvement of ingredients, to especially for the ingredients that have known lower solubility, lower bioavailability, and so on. Yeah.
Right. So, but unfortunately for us in Europe, we're still not able to use NMN in formulations, correct?
Yeah, not yet. I hope that this changes soon, because there really is a boost of these kind of ingredients. They're interesting, and I think in Europe still people want to buy this kind of ingredients.
Right. I agree on that. And one type of ingredient that is approved and is perhaps not the most expected player in the longevity arena is nucleotides. I believe you noted down a specific brand of a nucleotide complex.
Yeah, it's a Ribot diet from Prosol. We know the nucleotides since many years ago, but they have been used in different indications. For example, for immunity, gut health, also nervous health, and now they are really entering strongly in this area of longevity with clinical studies and so on. So we expect more from this in the future.
All right. And there was also a quite nice highlight on a new product line at the Asta Real stand, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, astaxanthin has been a well-known ingredient, antioxidant ingredient for many years, Asta Real promoting it really well. But now they refocused or repositioned a complete line of, was it on cellular health?
Yeah, they basically position their line together with the beauty and longevity. So they not just the food supplements, but also the cosmetic line. So it's quite an interesting combination, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a great segue, I think, into our next topic, which is beauty from within. While at least my take on beauty from within for a couple of years was it's a bunch of collagen shots, right? It was collagen this, collagen that, which is, of course, very relevant and still a big part of the market. But I think there's also some nice development happening. And one that you mentioned already now is kind of the crossover or the merger with longevity. I think there's the kind of the same type of ingredients being used as pure cellular health longevity products. NAD and MN, we can see them now in products that are meant more specifically for beauty from within. And there's a wider trend surrounding that. There are the popularity of this ingredient, NAD specifically for beauty, is driven also in part by phenomena like celebrities going for intravenous NAD infusion therapies, as they call them. If I'm not mistaken, is celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow, Jennifer Aniston, Kendall Jenner, and so forth. So I guess that would spark some interest in the general public. And there's many products that are launching kind of these products at the crossover, such as Holy Dermi is one very well-known brand. And of course, L'Oreal has been hinting on venturing more into supplements for some time now quite vocally, and actually already publishing educational articles on the functions of NAD and NMN, kind of building the ground. And sooner or later, they will be launching somewhere here at the crossover of longevity and supplements as well. And I think a very good showcase of this trend is also the Nutri Ingredients Awards winner of this year in Europe. Of course, that was announced in Barcelona during the event. The product of the year award for beauty from within was the product called NADH and Saffron Bioactives Emerald Elixir by HECH Europe. So it really kind of is a great example of that. One other crossover that I see is also with hydration. Of course, it makes sense. Skin
Yeah.
hydration, it goes hand in hand also with how would you call it, general body hydration.
Yeah, of course.
And we saw examples like that at the show floor, examples of finished products. We saw Natura Care promoting their Hydra Beauty effervescent tablets. That was basically electrolytes with a spin for hydrating skin. And also Cereal's Hydra Pearls Vital. This was for beauty and skin. These were kind of soft gels based on superbacterial and collagen hyaluronic acid. So yeah, I believe there's kind of crossovers happening there.
Yeah, they do. I also see many indications like merge together and resulting in different and interesting concepts for finished products.
And I think that's a good basis for all of this kind of development happening is, of course, study the ingredients, branded ingredients. Is there any specific beauty from within ingredient that popped out for you at Vitafoods?
Yeah, for example, from Active Inside, they have a bunch of really interesting, nice ingredients, also scientifically supported. One of them is Belite 3 ingredients. It actually got a Nutri Ingredients Award, and it's an ingredient that really focuses on the skin health, for brightening effect, and actually like general skin health, anti-dark spots, maybe ingredient that is more interesting for the Asian market who are really into this skin brightenings, whitening effects, and so on. But I think that also the Asian interest in this is coming into the Europe and Americas in late years. So I believe this kind of ingredient will, if it's not yet, it will be really interesting also in this part of the world. Then also, for example, Bionap's red orange complex, another ingredient clinically supported with great results also for skin health, for the protection of skin during the summer, and so on.
I think the latter
Yeah.
was actually used in, I hope I'm right now, an IMCD's product that was highlighted at the new product zone.
Yes. Yeah.
Beauty Plus, or Beauty Sleep product it was called, right? And part of it was red orange complex from Bionap. Yeah, you mentioned this interest in more specific beauty positioning, such as hyperpigmentation and so forth, moving towards Europe. And I think a great example of such a launch already in the B2C market manifesting was the recent launch by H&H Group. Their Swiss brand just launched a new kind of sub line of products called Swiss Professional. This was in Italy. This was just a couple of months ago, maybe even just a month ago, with maybe it's between 5 and 10 SKUs, all for beauty, all with very specific positioning, just for skin, just for nails, just for hair, skin rejuvenation, and so forth. And yeah, I think it's very much spilling over to Western markets as well. Perhaps a move back to the roots, back to collagen. There's a buzzword been going around, controversial, for a few years, and also present at this Vitafoods, as you told me, vegan collagen.
Yeah, so collagen is really present in the Vitafood still. It's everywhere, but what we see growing is the vegan collagen concept, and it's really interesting because I mean there's different concepts. So one of them is having just amino acid complex, mainly focused on the amino acids that are mostly present in collagen. But then you also have the plant extracts that contain these amino acids. So that's the second one, and the third one would be just the nutrients that support the collagen formation, for example, vitamin C, or other vitamins and minerals. So we really see this new thing going on with the vegan collagen, although the scientific support is not that strong as a proper collagen from animal sources. But based on my questions on different booths, there is a demand. So people want vegan collagen. So it's coming, and I guess it will stay.
So even though we might not, or scientific people might not agree with the term exactly, right? It is a little bit misleading. There is a market demand apparently, and the buzzword or it works in consumer markets, right?
For sure, yeah.
An example of which would be Astrion from New Live Science. New Live, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Astrion is a safe word, so I'm going to stick with that one. A collagen booster, an extract from plants.
Yeah, it's basically an extract of Astragalus membranaceus and Centella asiatica, which are, I think they are very well known ingredients in the Asian markets, also from the cosmetics. But now they're coming into this skin collagen um, area, and I think the ingredient is also clinically supported. So based on the data on the boot, it shows that it actually increases collagen, also increases hyaluronic acid in human skin cells. It was not a clinical study; it was a preclinical, but still there is some science going on. So I believe that manufacturers of these ingredients will. I hope they will perform more studies and show that even the vegan collagen can be a really useful ingredient for food supplements.
Excellent. So that was a couple of specific mentions of beauty from within ingredients and products. Of course, there are more. This is the disclaimer we should put next to every category that we talk about. But let's say that it holds until further notice, this disclaimer. And we can then move on to the next topic, which is the infamous GLP-1. As you all know, the rise of GLP-1 agonists has induced instant growth of a completely new category within supplements, and different product launches have been happening since 2024, which we can kind of segment into three categories roughly. The first category is products that support patients or users that are currently using GLP-1 agonist drugs, because these drugs come with a number of side effects. Then comes the opportunity for supplements to support these, or to counter these side effects. Notable mentions in 2024 and 25 had been by Jamieson, their brand U Theory, by iHerb, they launched a whole line, Vitamin Shop launched a whole line, and so forth. The second category would be natural alternatives to the GLP-1 agonist drugs, so GLP-1 boosters that actually claim to boost GLP-1 levels through alternative through certain mechanisms. Examples of these products include Kylie Jenner's brand Lemmy, which is actually currently facing a lawsuit because of this communication that is, of course, very risky, because we are in the area where drugs are active. So it is an area that is, again, controversial, and where communication needs to be really, really careful. And the third category, as I would roughly put it, is Ozempics. This means just products that are not claiming to have an effect on GLP-1 at all. They are just, let's say, piggybacking on the trend of this renewed trend of interest in weight loss supplements and satiety supplements. So they are just kind of sometimes even using the term Ozempic, such as a race product, but not in direct relation to GLP-1. And when it comes to ingredients, this was a big thing across the Vitafoods floor. So in my view, as much as I was able to see, there are ingredients that have had studies on increasing GLP-1 levels from before, and now started to lean into that communication a little bit more. There are ingredients that are now starting studies on their effect on GLP-1 because they saw the opportunity, and then there are ingredients that are basically only kind of indirectly hinting towards GLP-1 and trying to kind of catch people on the phrase, on the keyword. What are some of your honorable mentions in this category?
Okay, for example, the ones that already have some data on GLP-1, I would say Eriomine, then Nextida by Rousselot, also Metabolate by Monteloder.
Incidentally, if I may interrupt
Yeah,
you, I
sure.
I just a couple of months ago in December, I spoke to Swan Nutra, their marketing director. This is part of Monteluede, or it's maybe the other way around. I'm so sorry. But anyway, I spoke to their marketing director because I was interested in whether or not they see an interest also outside of the US. Because, of course, it's a promising, booming category in the US, but is there also commercial interest outside of the US? And they actually mentioned, yes, that there is interest, and the most inquiries they get outside of the US is from UK and Spain. And in fact, this was back in December. In the past couple of months, back in December, since they were running more communication around GLP-1, they saw a 60% increase in interest in inquiries for metabolate, their ingredient. But back to you, Veronica.
Yeah, sure. So these were okay. Also, Beneos palatinosa is one of them that already had some science behind it. Then there were quite many ingredients or suppliers of ingredients that had ingredients, for example, as you mentioned already, for blood sugar management or insulin management, or like satiety, and did not necessarily study or measure GLP-1 in their previous studies, but are now planning to, or even have ongoing studies where they intend to measure it. So they also want to go to ride this wave of GLP-1, which is great for the consumers, because we're talking about natural ingredients, natural extracts. Mainly, for example, one of them is Pheolix from Anagenics. A really nice product. I had the honor to be present at one of their events at Vitafoods also, where we discussed a lot about the science behind it, what they already have, and what they're planning to do. So I really expect nice studies also in the GLP-1 area, and we'll see how it goes. And the next one is Finova's Redukios, which also has some great studies in the pipeline. So we have quite a lot of things to look forward to, and yeah, we'll see what the results will be. Hopefully, really good.
Yes, let's hope so. Sticking to Vitafoods, we also saw in the new product zone one mention of GLP-1, one reference to GLP-1, and this was Fine Foods, the product by Fine Foods called Liquefy Metabolic Collagen, which at first to me seemed like collagen for beauty and joints, but in fact it's based on a branded collagen peptide for blood glucose management, and this could be, I feel, either Russello's ingredient or Nuritas's ingredient, because they mentioned AI discovered peptide. And they mentioned activation of GLP-1 as well. And I believe both of those ingredients actually have data on GLP-1 activation. So this reference actually could be legit. And when it comes to, again, I was mentioning before the meetings that we have had prior to Vitafoods with our sales team and so forth, we also spoke about GLP-1 and how to respond to inquiries for this, because we don't have anything specific in our portfolio for to address this particular product area. But in fact, this was the area where I was most surprised by the conversations that I had. And as much as I was able to talk to my colleagues after the show, there were practically no proactive questions about GLP-1 related products, as far as I know. Again, the sample size is not huge. I'm sure some of you listeners are now in outrage because you had so many conversations about this, and I guess it depends a little bit on the stand if you're highlighting GLP-1 a little bit. We typically try to, ask people, is there anything specific that you're looking for? And it's possible that they gravitate towards the thing that they see on our stand, right? So I'm sure there was GLP-1 interest, but I expected more. That's just my comment for what it's worth. And Veronica, if you're ready, let's move on to hydration.
Of course.
As you all know, hydration has been one of the fastest growing categories in supplements in the past 2 years. This was really, it has really transitioned into the mainstream from, just sports rehydration and post-diarrhea rehydration with ORS products, now to everyday hydration for everybody. It's a general lifestyle product. And this has really been driven by brands like Liquid IV, even brands like prime hydration, very much fueled by social media. And we see success by Liquid IV. They're growing like crazy. There's success by companies like also in Asia, Otsuka and their Pocari Sweat. They're growing really well. We see data from Spins in the US that the hydration market is still growing over 30%. And this is a category that's over $1 billion. So for such a mature and big category to grow by 30% in 2024, it's quite outrageous. And we have French sellout data from pharmacies where they saw a 9-fold increase in 2024. Yes, that is correct. 9-fold increase. And this is specific because I'm talking about the pharmacy channel only. There's open health data, very nice sellout data from France. And previously, of course, there were not so many hydration products in France in pharmacies. And now they're really entering the pharmacies, and therefore they have this explosion of sales. And still in 2025, we're seeing launches by mainstream brands, not sports nutrition brands, but mainstream brands like Thorne in the US, Zuki in the UK, and so forth. And at the show, I did see some finished product references, some finished product examples, like Natura Care. They launched, or they were promoting Hydra Beauty effervescent tablets. Sun Life was promoting their line of hydration products in stick and effervescent tablets. We were promoting hydration, of course. Sirio, the gummy experts, were promoting hydration products as well. They have the previously mentioned hydration that's more related to beauty and skin, but they also have Hydra Bite gummies, and they also have Fizzy Bits effervescent tabs, which I guess Sirio is not generally so well known for. I didn't know they did tablets, and found out this year. But yeah, in terms of maybe walking around the show floor and ingredients, what was your feeling?
Yeah, based on the boom on the market data, the percentage and everything, it's I actually expected more. There were some products, but what I see, it's still very basic products, same ingredients, so electrolytes, products based on sugar. There's not that much innovation. I mean, of course, there is not that much space for innovation in a hydration product, of course, but still, I would expect more.
Fair enough. In terms of ingredients as well, there could be some innovation, you think?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are some. So they have hydration and some, for example, as we already discussed, the beauty or hydration and something else together. So it's like a more like a combination product. This exists, but yeah, maybe something more innovative.
Right. I think that maybe with hydration, because the basis of everything is, I guess, electrolytes. It's a little bit more difficult to innovate at the level of ingredients. Of course, there's like potassium from natural sources like coconut and stuff like that, where you have some interesting stories, added value, let's say. But perhaps it's more at the level of finished products where we can innovate. And I feel that the story that we were discussing with our Hydromin sticks, it caught on really well. This is a little bit of tiny bit of promotion of our product that you're going to hear in this podcast. It's not going to be even promotion about the product in specifically. I'm just going to say that in terms of interest that we saw from brand owners. So we went through the data because we collect, we try to record as many conversations as we can, not record as in audio record, but write down notes from as many conversations as we can from the random passersby that we meet at Vitafoods. And out of the close to 400 conversations that had a little record to it, there was about 130 that where the explicit interest was shown in hydration. So I thought that was
Wow.
immense, outstanding. I didn't expect as much. To be fair, again, we were promoting hydration on our stand. We had a whole hydration station, so naturally they would gravitate to that and so forth. But still, we cannot really force interest onto people if they're not at least a little bit open to it. And in a third of the cases, they were, and we had really good conversations on hydration. And this was from various markets as well. I had super detailed conversations with European brands, Italy, Spain, Baltics, UK, also Chinese, Indian, other markets in Southeast Asia. It was really the traction was really, really strong. But yeah, I guess in terms of ingredients, there's still something here, some space left to innovate.
Yeah, and also as you mentioned, the finished products, formats and so on.
Exactly. All right. Moving on to women's health.
Okay.
In my view, there was quite a few different finished products relating to women's health, and a lot of conversations that we had around women's health on our stand. There was a lot of interest for specific subsegments as hormonal health, products specific for women over 50, vaginal health, very specifically. There was a product promoted at the New Product Zone from Pharmextracta, their product Crispact is now, I think, quite getting a bit famous because it's collecting awards left and right. It's based on a probiotic that is clinically, the whole product is clinically studied for both fertility and for HPV clearance. Very specific, interesting niche HPV. Apparently, there is a time in a patient, in a woman that is diagnosed with HPV infection, where they cannot do really much about it. It's like there's a wait and see approach, and in this specific period, they lack products that could support them. And this is where products like Crispact jump in, apparently, with their clinically studied probiotics for vaginal microbiome balance, which I thought was super interesting. And another example from the New Product Zone was Purasana's Miss Harmony, which is based on Mudral, which is a saffron brand, but also, importantly, Shatavari. And this was an ingredient that I was not so familiar with. I was not at all familiar with 2 years ago. 1 year ago, a good friend, Mr. Ken Israel, notified me, or made me, caught my attention, educated me about Shatavari's emergence. And now we see it appearing more on the show floor.
Yeah, actually, this was my 8th Vitafoods, so I've been to many fairs, and basically the Shatavari was never like in the focus. I think now some people call it even next ashwagandha, which is really interesting. But yeah, it was never focused on this ingredient. Even though it is also, for example, in Europe, it is an approved or authorized ingredient, compared to ashwagandha, which lately has some regulatory issues, and it might be interesting in the future, especially for shatavari or Asparagus racemosis. Basically, the difference between them is also that ashwagandha might be more leaning to the men's health because of the effects on performance, also sexual health, while Shatavari is really more leaning into the women's health. So it's really specific for women. It comes from the Ayurvedic science, so it's been known for a long time, but not that much in Europe. And I'm not sure about US, but I think in the western part of the world, it has never been that much of a focus on it compared to ashwagandha, who really has there's multiple brands, known brands, but now because of all these regulatory challenges, um, there might be some limitations in the future. And what I see is that most of or a lot of the producers of ashwagandhas, they're decreasing the dosages. So I guess that everyone expects that there will be some limitation on the use of ashwagandhas, and this might be a good chance for shatavari or similar ingredients to rise up. And I expect many products in the next year or next years, for especially for women's health.
So at Vitafoods, you already saw it manifest in products or ingredient suppliers offering it, or?
Yes, also in some finished products, but mainly I saw quite a few booths that really focused, that had written Shatavari or something like that, which was not it was not present, for example, a couple of years ago.
Okay, very interesting. Something to follow for sure. Something that has been present for a while. Next topic: sleep. What is your first impression, or second or third, on sleep at Vitafoods?
Uh, there was not that much focus. There was a lot of focus in the previous years, um, but now um, there is still a lot of herbals, so passion flower, lemon balm, and so on. Also, the peptides like lactium. These kind of ingredients are still present very strongly, but there was not that much focus or any um, innovations in this sector. I believe.
I guess the industry has a limited focus. I guess we cannot have like so many really highlighted star health areas or indications at the same time. We shift, we move from, even if consumers are still, obviously taking sleep supplements, the B2B sphere is kind of focused on one thing, and then the next, or at two or three. But yeah, I agree, sleep was not in such focus at the show.
But what I see is the emergence of phytomelatonin, for example. So the plant-based melatonin. One of them, I believe it's. I don't
Prosomnial.
remember. Prosomnial, yeah,
Yes.
prosomnial. And there was another one. Another one based on two extracts, which is not exactly melatonin, but when taken as a supplement, it actually boosts the melatonin or the production of melatonin, which I think it's also quite interesting, especially for maybe for users that do not want to take melatonin. The first one was from pistachio, right? The pistachio source of like a natural source of melatonin. But the second one is just like plant extract, which basically it means that you do not have to take melatonin, but the extracts will help your body with your own melatonin, which might be for some health conscious consumers who don't want to take hormones, or maybe even in some countries there's some regulatory issues or limitations with the dosages of melatonin. So there's now there are different options that consumers will have for instead of melatonin.
I totally agree, and I also see this shift from just pushing melatonin to kind of, let's say, circumventing it a little bit, or having it at least a natural source, so it sounds more, or so it feels more safe to the consumer, and also emphasizing all these the absence of these negative side effects of high doses of melatonin, like non-habit forming, feeling of being refreshed and ready for the day when you wake up, not drowsiness and so forth. I feel like this kind of a bad reputation of a high dose of melatonin has the industry has adapted to it in several different ways, the ones you mentioned with the ingredients and also with the communication. But yeah, I agree that also at our stand, sleep was one of the more rarely demanded indications or product lines. So not in such trend yet, but still I think with quality products that can, improve sleep quality, not just, act as a sedative, I think the market is still probably there. Perhaps it's in a little bit decline, but, the market size is still not at all negligible, even though it was not a hot trend at Vitafoods.
That's true. It goes also along with the stress indication. So the stress and sleep, we can see a lot of these kind of ingredients that promote not really specifically focused on sleep, but it's there. So for example, adaptogens also have some positive effects on sleep.
Or magnesium, the next topic.
Sure.
So as I'm sure you are all well aware, magnesium has been a hot trend for a couple of years now. insane growth in the US. We always have this nice Spins data. Thank you, Spins. They show that in 2024, products based on magnesium grew by 33.5%. Again, a super mature category. Magnesium has been around for a long time. It's a large category, and having such growth on such a large base is outstanding. It's not only the US. We know of products like the UK's Holland and Barrett. Holland Barrett, they have a magnesium product that's doing well. PharmaNutra's magnesium is doing well. We see this in the reports and so forth. I think it's interesting that consumers are searching for all these different kinds of sources of magnesium. It's not only magnesium that's trending as a search, but magnesium glycinate, magnesium citrate, threonate, and so forth. What's your thought on magnesium, how it's developing in all these different sources?
Yeah, so previously there were a lot of products of magnesium products, but they were focused maybe on one magnesium salt or two. But now we really see the combinations. First ones are the combinations of magnesium and some other ingredients like plant extracts or like vitamins and so on. And the other one is multiple magnesium salts together. And this could probably be because of different actions that different magnesium salts have, so different benefits based on the clinical studies that were performed. And the other one also because of different elemental percentages of magnesium. So if you want to have a product which in a capsule or even if it's in a stick, but if you want to have not that much of raw material, then you want to have a magnesium salt that has high percentage of elemental magnesium. And then if you want to combine the ones that have high percentage, for example, magnesium oxide, with the ones that have clinical support for, I don't know, muscle function or brain health, then you have to combine the two magnesium salts, and it really comes to like a calculation how much of which to use to have the best product. So we really see the products with the combinations of different magnesium salts lately.
One concrete fact from interest from brand owners from our stand, we saw again a lot of interest because obviously we were highlighting our latest liposomal magnesium product launch. But nevertheless, 22% of the conversations that were recorded and had some product interest expressed were surrounding magnesium. So again, pretty substantial. And moving on to one of the last topics, galenic forms. So I think, in my view, this Vitafoods was the Vitafoods, when it comes to galenic forms, the Vitafoods of all kinds of chewables. So gummies, obviously, but also soft chews, so with a slightly larger capacity for actives, chewable tablets, chewable soft gels, chewable some things that look like chocolates. We have some information from Aurvita, the Polish group, that they launched this chocolatey chew format and already have really substantial numbers with clients selling over 500,000 units and so forth. There's also Concordix, which was just adjacent to us with a stand, and I tried a whole bunch of their smart chews. It's like this kind of jelly-like chewable in a blister. They had really nice tasting chewables.
Very tasty.
Yeah, with I was jealous of that. D3, coenzyme Q10, lutein, DHA, and so forth. And it has also a relatively high active load as well. So I think the name of the game is making fun, tasty product forms that are stable and have high enough active load capacity. What do you think, Veronica?
Yeah, what I see, not just in the finished product zone, but also in the ingredients parts, there is a shift into the functional food. So everyone is looking into going from the capsules, tablets, and those traditional forms to more food-like product formats. And one of the I really remember the K2D3 lollipops for children, which I think it's an amazing idea. I haven't tried it, sadly, but yeah, I think that there is really a shift into this direction, and also what I see a lot of these vials or like shots. It was also in the previous years, but there is really a bunch of different interesting formats, and I think the capsule and tablet form, they're still present, but they're taking the back seat, I think, lately.
NBJ actually at Vitafoods showed data that non-pills held already 65% of the market in 2024 in the US. I think the ratio might be a little bit different in other markets. I think probably you're right, because of such a large emergence of different non-pill formats, they will probably hold the majority of the market in most markets. But I don't think that capsules and tablets will ever go below, let's see, a courageous prediction, below 40% of the market. Because they're still so
For sure.
versatile, they're still so useful for formulating, and also in certain cases just create a perception of higher efficacy of a more medicinal product, as opposed to,
Yeah,
there's two sides to the coin, I guess.
sure.
And notable, I think, interesting format is also strips that have been around for a while, I think, but maybe seeing a renaissance. Dissolvable strips, strip roll even. We spoke to Fu Wei. They commented that dissolvable strips, in their case, are actually performing as well as gummies, interestingly. And for Vitafoods Europe Innovation Awards, one went to IceUp Limited, which is as they call it, the first frozen nutritional supplement of its kind. It's like a popsicle. I know this has been around for a while, but congrats to them on the award, and goes again to speak to the trend you were mentioning, the functional food format trend. Let's go to from shifts in Galenic form to geographical shifts. I believe you're the expert on ingredient suppliers, but what do you see as a trend there?
Yeah, well, as I already mentioned, this was really my eighth Vitafoods. So I've been to the fairs a lot, and what I see from the past years, the Asian, especially Korean, but also Chinese manufacturers and suppliers, they really got their game. Like, they have really good ingredients and clinically supported ingredients. I believe that any ingredient that I come to the booth and ask about, they already have some science behind it, which is really great. And I would say this is really uh, nice, a nice way, because in the past it was not the case. There were many ingredients, like innovative ingredients and interesting, but without any clinical support or any support whatsoever. So I think that I really like the emergence of Korean, Chinese, Taiwanese, other suppliers, manufacturers, especially in the area of probiotic, postbiotics, but also others like plant extract and so on. So I hope that we see even more in the future. Now, they have their own pavilions now in the Vitafoods, but I believe they will expand, and I hope that they will, because they really have some interesting ingredients.
I think it can only be good for the industry, this kind of competitiveness. That's like not the monopoly of just well-established European brands. It's great that we have this extra development and good quality development, not just competition in terms of price, right? One geographical shift or interesting geographical trend I would note about the visitors, the brand owners, is that for the first time ever, at least since I've been with the company in my 6 Vitafoods, not as many as yours,
Or
but still, some. For the first time, I was talking to not one, but a few American brands that were specifically looking for European manufacturers. So this obviously has to do with the tariffs. American brands that have any business overseas, to avoid the tariffs, they're looking for basically European or other good quality manufacturing. This was a big surprise to me. The first time I heard it, then spoke to some colleagues, made sense of it. And I guess we'll see more of that in the future. I mean, depending on what happens. We're not here to make some political predictions, because that's too tough. we'll just speak about Vitafoods. And the second geographical trend I would note about visitors is that we've had always Chinese companies, Chinese brands come up to us, ask about our products. But I think now we're really seeing a shift towards demand for premium products, so that evidently the Chinese premium segment is developing well, and they're looking for products with added value, with clinical substantiation, with unique brands and so forth. Right. And now just for the quick fire of the last few topics, honorable mentions. So me and Veronica, we both chose a couple of different short mentions, short honorable mentions that we feel you guys should or we should all look out for in the future. I'll start off with PEA. I think PEA is really having its moment. It's a super interesting ingredient for natural pain management or discomfort, because we can't say pain. There has been, Levagen has been ruling the branded PEA segment for some time now, but I think it's about to get a run for its money. We have this year Indena launching its branded PEA, Gelepi, 2 Italian brands launching PEA, Frau Pharma as well. All of these basically adding value, improving solubility mainly, or dispersibility of PEA. Over to you.
Yeah, I would mention all the pet ingredients. I think that there is a really huge shift. They were present before, but now even the suppliers or manufacturers of ingredients of human for human consumption that they had ingredients before. Now they're really shifting into it, and even focusing. The entire booths are focused on the pet health and ingredients for pet supplements. So I believe we are not just humans are the want to be healthy ourselves, but I think we want to have healthy pets, and I believe that in the future this will be even more like. I believe that there will be an entire pavilion of just ingredients just for pets in a couple of years.
Very much could happen. I know I am a consumer, not consumer. I buy them. I don't consume them. But when you have a pet, you would, I think, do anything for them. So buying a supplement is very much the thing I start with, aside from walking them and so forth. But definitely a segment to look out for. And one last mention from myself is creatine. Again, an established ingredient, but it has been enjoying a renewed growth. Again, we know this data from the US, but it seems to be expanding in the different health areas, different indications that we see it have a health benefit. We actually had inquiries on our stand for creatine, specifically for its benefits in cognition and its benefits in women's health. So something, again, very interesting to look out for. And with that, I'd like to conclude today's podcast, today's summary of Vitafoods. I know there are so many different ingredients and finished products and brands we didn't mention, but we just tried to make a snapshot of it and hope some of it will be useful for those of you who didn't manage to cover the entire show floor. So thank you, Veronica, for joining me today, for providing all the insights that you have. And thank you for all viewers, and see you next time.
Bye.